This episode of the Old Dogs REI Network is brought to you by Mino Studio.
In a world where jobs are how most people make money, one man, one desire, one challenge dares to break the mold. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where we don't work for money. Money works for us. Coming soon. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manassero.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network. I'm your host, Bill Manassero, and this is the show where 50-plussers and anyone else who wants to join us get solid, no sales pitch real estate investing advice to help generate real cash flow. This podcast airs twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays, and if you aren't already a subscriber, go to iTunes, type in Old Dog, spelled D-A-W-G, find our podcast, and subscribe. Following podcast is part 2 of a 2-episode podcast series. Who are you talking to in these buildings? I mean, well, actually, you're not. You've got a realtor that already has a connection, right, for the most part. But when you were starting off, did you just go into a leasing agent, from the property management company, or did you have to talk to somebody higher? Oh, really? Just wow.
For the first 4 years, I basically just went in the front door, did a tour, told them what was up. I'm a salesperson. So that's kind of the thing. Use your strengths. So I've been a salesperson for a decade, so I would go in and I would sell my business model in a good way, so that way when they spoke to their bosses and when the property management person spoke to ownership, it came off well. I knew that if I said one thing, when they played the game of telephone, they would include certain bits of information. So I knew kind of how that game worked. Now I do talk more to ownership because we're trying to take such large amounts of properties, like large amounts of doors. Instead of taking 2 or 3 apartments at a time, we're trying to take 10 or 20. So now I talk to ownership. And my leasing agent friends that work on my behalf, they don't do the pitching for me. I tell them, don't you dare. Just find buildings that look like they fit our model. And you can kind of prime them up to talk to my business, but don't try to do the sales for me. Leave that to the professional arbitrage partner. So the real estate agents, they just get me in front of the decision maker now. They don't do the pitching.
Gotcha. Now, what would you say on sort of the other side? You zeroed in on a few mistakes that that you learned a lot from. But what did you think you've done right that's really made a difference in your business? And it may be a couple of things, but there's sort of key things that really you did right, and has just been booming as a result of it.
So there's a few factors that created success on Airbnb that I just kind of naturally did well. One, being in sales, I understood the whole copywriting side of creating an Airbnb listing. When you write out your Airbnb listing or create that profile, it needs to look good. People are shopping online, so you need to represent your product well online. You're selling brick and mortar on an online space. So photos were important. I understood that taking quality photos mattered, which means that design, like creating slightly quirky, welcoming looking spaces, is going to be the key to making, good looking photos. So I understood that. So what we did well is we designed our spaces, fairly well on a good budget, because we made our spaces slightly unique, which was nice. We knew how to write our profiles out. So, and I use the word we. A lot of people ask why. We as my organization, that's another thing that I think I did right also, is I understood that management of an organization was about the people that worked there. So I've always empowered my people to do well. So I've hired good people. I've had good staff. And so we were able to grow the business because the people were invested. So we did a really good job marketing the spaces. I did a really good job of building a team of the right people so we could scale and grow. I think those are the big ones. And then the kind of the odd one is I understood that Airbnb and hotels are extremely different in one key way. Hotels, you don't know what door you're going into until you arrive. You're like, hi, I'm checking in at the Sheraton. They're like, okay, your room number's 412, right? With Airbnb, your one address, when somebody books you a month and a half in advance, it gets taken off the market. The hotel still markets the building until they're full, right? So, one person can stay a day, one person can stay a week, one person can stay a month, and they don't know what door they're going to put you in until you arrive. So they can just market aggressively. Doesn't matter if they have 20 doors available or 2, they get to market the same amount. But if you have 5 homes and 3 of them are booked, only 2 of them will show up. You no longer are able to market your space. So I realized something that with Airbnb, if you have 2 weekend bookings, for example, you've got a family that's coming in for 4th of July weekend, and then you've got a family that's coming in the last weekend of July. The dates in between those 2 bookings become harder to book because when somebody's searching to travel, you have to be available for all of the dates that they're looking to travel. So as your Airbnb calendar fills up, your dates become less valuable because they become harder to book. So I created a pricing strategy pretty much around your occupancy, as you call it, so that way you can fill an Airbnb calendar up 100% by pretty much overpricing when your calendar is completely open, and then start slashing prices once you start getting some bookings. And we've got a lot of videos on pricing strategy. And I think that's probably the thing that we've done the most well, is understanding the key difference between having one Airbnb property and having a ton of doors in a hotel.
Do you use a lot of outside sort of online resources for like AirDNA and others like that that are more tapped into the data that you need to make those decisions?
No, I don't. I look at my portfolio. I look at what we book at. I look at how many days we have available per day. All the stuff you can do for free. AirDNA is cool because it does give you a lot of tools and widgets. If you don't understand Airbnb, AirDNA is becoming more and more user friendly. It used to be super tough to use. If you didn't understand Airbnb, AirDNA was like looking at Latin. It just wasn't going to be your friend. It's doing a better job. But anything that you really want to know, you can know by looking at Airbnb listings in your neighborhood. You can see who's got bookings. You can see what they're advertising at. You can see what their photo quality is. And it's actually easier to get good data by secret shopping your neighborhood listings, because when you open up a listing, you see that's completely booked, and you see it's because they can have families of 10 or more, and their photos look outstanding. You can actually read their copywriting, and you can really say how quality of a listing is this. And you can ask yourself, why is this listing getting bookings, and why is the one next to it not? There's a lot that you can learn there. AirDNA won't give you that, but AirDNA will tell you on a grand scale what is the seasonality of the neighborhood, right? But some of that data isn't clean. I don't know if you do much with data, but there's something called data hygiene, and you have to kind of clean out irrelevant data or outliers that'll affect the numbers. And AirDNA doesn't really do a great job of that. There are people on Airbnb who put up a listing and then they become inactive, and they never use it. There's people who put up an Airbnb listing on Instant Book, which should be only for a listing that's full time, but then they block the calendar. So it's on Instant Book, but no dates are available. And this will screw up the numbers. So AirDNA does give you really cool, like general insights, like which months are the best and which months are the worst. But they tell you you should expect to get $1,600 a month in the slow season, and we'll get $2,500 a month instead of $1,600. So their numbers are super off sometimes, because they're looking at the worst listings in the space as well, and they're actually factoring people who are just doing a terrible job. So the numbers that they can give you can be kind of gloomy sometimes.
Gotcha. Now, our audience, as I mentioned, are folks that are 50 years of age, either they're approaching retirement or 50 plus, or some of them are already retired, and they're kind of realizing that, hey, this amount that I have set aside for retirement isn't enough, or people are living longer if it's going to really last me for the full ride here. And what kind of advice would you have for this group? Sometimes they just need an extra, $500 or $1,000. Some may be looking, they really need to, a significant $5,000, $10,000 a month, something like that. What kind of advice would you have for those folks that might be looking at this type of Airbnb approach? And can it help that group?
Sure. For people who don't want to do a lot of work, because they're already kind of like have their mindset on retirement, there is still a way to get it done. I've given advice like this before to hosts who already exist who want to achieve scale. I tell them to team up. So in this case, let me give you some numbers for context. An apartment should profit no less than $600 a month on average. Like a small apartment should profit $600 a month or better.
That's after all expenses.
Yep, that's after you pay your rents and stuff like that, housekeepers, things like that.
Okay.
It's easier to achieve those. It's easier to achieve profit if your housekeeping costs are low. That's probably the biggest one. You can burn the most money paying for housekeeping staff too much, right? If you do 8 cleanings for 8 housekeeping visits a month, and you pay them $60 as opposed to $25 per visit, that $35 that totals up probably with 35 times 8, you're probably looking at $260, $270 of profit that you just soaked by overpaying a housekeeper. So people who want to get into the real estate space don't want to put a lot of money into the venture, but want to achieve a good amount of profit. I would try to find people in your neighborhood that are interested in this opportunity too, probably. So find 4 or 5 people who want to get into the Airbnb game, where the 4 or 5 people commit money into a limited liability partnership or something like that. So kind of like a small group investment strategy. So that way they can pick up 10 apartments together. So that way they can achieve scale. And if they want to hire a property manager and a couple housekeepers and not have to bring on an outside person like me or another co-host company or something, then they could do it on their own just by teaming up in their neighborhood. And this opportunity is big enough. If you think about it, a hotel, when they build a new hotel, it's got 300 doors usually, right? So you teaming up with some friends and adding 10 doors to the market is not going to oversaturate anything. 10 doors is a small number in the travel accommodation space. So it costs about $5,000 per door to get set up. So each person would have to bring, $10,000 to the table if they wanted to set up 10 apartments between 5 people. And then they can achieve scale by having full-time housekeepers. Instead of paying them by the door, they pay them by the hour. And that little LLP, if that's the right structure, which I'm not an accountant and I'm not claiming to give good advice in on the accounting finance side, but that LLP could then profit say $6,000 per month off of 10 doors or more. And thus the little group of 5 people could realize a $1,200 per month profit each shareholder, each member. I think that would probably be the best way to get it done.
That's great. Now the housekeeping, isn't that billed back to the people that are actually renting? I mean, that are guests? I mean, don't they cover that the housekeeping amount?
Yes, but they're not going to write a blank check for housekeeping. Right. So let's say your average nightly rate is $80 a night. And you have a fair housekeeping price of $32, right? That your housekeeping price cannot be twice as much as your daily rate. There are homes that do that. There's homes that's it's $110 a night to stay here, but the housekeeping fee or cleaning fee is $250, right? That's a sign of a bad operation. And people won't book it. People get sticker shock. They're like, oh, I love this place at $100 a night. It looks lovely. And then they see the $250 price tag for housekeeping, and they're only going to want to stay 2 or 3 nights. They're not going to eat that extra $250, right? Because their average price just doubled. So even though there's an opportunity to add a one-time housekeeping fee, your home will still generate as much money as it's going to generate, right? If you collect $4,000 a month on your home, it doesn't matter if $1,000 of it's housekeeping fees or $3,000 of it is housekeeping fees. You're still getting $4,000 in total income, and you still have to cut the check for your housekeepers from that. That's how I would look at it.
Gotcha. And that $5,000, is that including sort of first month's rent, security, furniture, all of those costs?
Yeah. Here's my favorite way to get in. You can typically get 4 weeks free from anybody, right? I want a month free up front. Well, what they'll do is they'll give you the first full month free. You have to pay a prorated month. So let's say you sign a lease November 15th. The rent is $1,200 per month. You'll pay a $600 prorated rent, and you'll pay your $500. Actually, one building they're charging $150 deposit, and they're like, "You got approved with double deposit," and I'm like, "Oh no!" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm like, "How much is the deposit?" They're like, "It's $150, so it's going to be $300." I'm like, "Oh, that's okay, never mind." A lot of places, like landlords, single family landlords, want a month rent of deposit, but apartment complexes, they don't play like that. It's not nearly as bad. So you'll get in for $600 of rent the first month and say $300 deposit. So that's $900 for that. Your application admin fees maybe $100 more. So you have $1,000 that goes towards the building for rents and deposits for the first 2 weeks. And then you get the second month free. And then you spend $4,000 or less on setting up the apartment. TV, bed, decor, couches, stuff like that. And so now...
Cable, too? Do you usually have cable in all
No.
You don't?
I believe in getting the Fire TV is probably one of my favorite TVs right now. It's a smart TV. You link it to your Amazon Prime account. You pay $140 a year for Amazon Prime. We have about 40 doors per Amazon Prime account. So people can watch Amazon Prime TV. Then you can also put HBO on there, Netflix and stuff like that. So for 40 doors, we pay $140 a year, and then we pay 3 different $15 a month memberships. So you do the math. What's 40? It's like probably $12 a month, $140 a year. So we pay $60-ish per month in TV streaming packages for 40 properties. Cable.
And does that include Wi-Fi?
So you pay the Wi-Fi for each place. So that's the cost.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
You pay your internet, which is like $40 a month for internet. If you wanted to add a cable package, it'll probably cost you an extra $25 a month for the basic because they'll bundle you. So instead of paying an extra $25 a month for cable, you can pay basically $12 a month for Amazon Prime, and then $8 a month for Netflix. You can pay $15 a month for HBO, which is what everybody loves. And then you can add more properties, and you're still paying that same amount of money. So if you're going to get multiple properties, don't get cable. If you're only going to have one property, cable might be a cost-effective solution to full TV service. But at 3 properties, you're going to save a ton of money just by getting all these streaming services, signing them up on all of your TVs. And if somebody just happens to be watching Showtime or happens to be watching HBO, you get very little overlap because some people don't even like TV. But that gives you a much more cost-effective. So, and that actually brings it back to the point. Airbnb is really a business. Making your profit is understanding how to control your costs, right? How to build a team, and how to budget appropriately and do the housekeeping well and customer service well. There's a lot of moving parts to it that really make it more than just real estate.
That's great. Your business or businesses here, it just sounds like just doing just amazing. So what's ahead for you, and what's exciting you about the future of your company?
Well, I have a very short field of sight because I'm always so busy. Right now, what I'm excited to do is to get through this next month. Since we're picking up 18 properties in Houston, we're picking up 4 properties 4 or 5 in Dallas. We're picking up 21 in Philadelphia, all at the same time, right? So we're looking at 42 doors, 42 doors. And we have the option of quickly taking more in Philadelphia, up to like 38 more properties in Philadelphia, quite possibly. And possibly more in Fort Worth, which we haven't even talked about. If I take all these on, I've always bootstrapped. I've always paid out of pocket. So I get to do some creative finance and say, well, I'm going to spend $200,000 on furniture to set up, 100 properties or something like that. How can I take all of our cash and keep putting it into play? And of course, obviously pay all of our other bills and then pay rent the first of the month and still have money for me to go get my coffee every morning. Like, I'm super, super aggressive. So I like to drive everything to the red line. So what's most exciting for me is that I've taken on more properties than I probably should have, and I'm going to force myself to find a way to finance 100 doors if I have to. Right now, we only have 42 of them, so we're fine. But if everybody comes back and says, yeah, green light, and we want to sign all these leases, I'm excited to find a way to get it done, to lead the company to just hit another absurd number of apartments in our portfolio. That's kind of where I'm at.
Wow. It looks like you're on track here to double what you have. I mean, just in a very short period of time. When you first started, you said you kind of went out there and just, and, just kind of bought Craigslist furniture or whatever, just to keep it cheap. But, now are you looking at maybe buying, bulk, maybe making some sort of an arrangement with, furniture companies or somebody to be able to, buy in bulk?
I've made a friend through the YouTube channel who sent me some information for a wholesaler that supplies Wayfair, which is cool. I haven't had a chance to look into it. We're currently using Wayfair Business. The cool thing about Wayfair Business is you make a big fat shopping cart. Like I had a $15,000 shopping cart on Wayfair for our 10 properties in Philadelphia, for 10 of our properties that we're picking up in Philly. Now, that wasn't everything. I think our total spend between two shopping carts, one was Amazon, one was Wayfair, was probably like $28,000. But the $15,000 cart on Wayfair, I sent it to my business rep, and he said, I'll get you a quote. He cut $1,800 off of that shopping cart. Amazon will never do that. You fill up a shopping cart, you pay whatever Amazon says you're paying. But Wayfair Business, they want to earn your business. So they will actually slash prices just because you're a bulk buyer. Amazon doesn't give you that kind of love. So I love Wayfair Business. In the Northeast, I've been using Bob's Discount Furniture for sleeper sofas because they have a really good quality sleeper sofa. And, of course, you can get 1 year no interest financing on furniture. So arguably, you could get into an apartment with the first month of rent free. Like, let's say they just give it to you up front and you'll pay like a prorated month next month. You could actually get the first 4 weeks free. Just pay the $100 application to get in. You get a bunch of furniture for somewhere like Bob's or somewhere else, and they give you 1 year no interest financing. And then you just have to buy the knickknacks, the plates, the towels, the cups, and a TV and stuff like that. You could probably get into your first apartment for like $1,000 because you financed your furniture. So there's a way to get super lean and scrappy. So now that we're big, me looking at opportunities to finance, like if we do pick up one of these we do get like one of the big other deals done, I will probably go to a furniture company and say, hey, I would like to buy lots and lots of couches from you, and let's work out a financing agreement that's in my favor. I like a 1 year no interest to the tune of like $75,000, please. If somebody would say yes to that, that'd be insane. But you got to ask, right? You got to ask.
Yeah,
and see if you can make it happen.
That's right. It doesn't hurt to ask. Yeah. Wow. Do you have sort of the ideal target property? Or unit, like a studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom? What's your best, from your experience, your best apartment?
So I split. For cheap to get in, fast to activate, and still photographs well, studios tend to do really well. For just profit per unit, I like 3 bedrooms or better. In the apartment complex world, it's hard to get anything bigger than a 3 bedroom. It's factual.
Right.
But I have an apartment in Houston that's a 3 bedroom, big floor plan. It's 2 stories. So there's a staircase going up from the living room. So the living room has like the 2-story high windows. So it's like a big, beautiful, lots of light. That property photographs super, super well. My rent is $2,400 for that 3 bedroom, and we cash flow $9,000 to $12,000 per month.
God, that is amazing. What do you have, like bunk beds in each one, or
no? Absolutely not.
Really?
So we have a big, beautiful couch in the living room. We have a sleeper sofa on the second floor dining, like the second floor modular living area. So we've got 2 couches. One is a sleeper sofa, so that'll sleep 3. Mm-hmm. We have a master king room, and then we have 2 rooms that have 2 queen beds in each, so double queen rooms. So we've got 4 queen beds, a king bed, a sleeper sofa, and a sofa. And that's a sleeping arrangement.
Now, are you charging per person? How do you do that?
No. So here's the downside of charging per person. Let's say that property can host 14 people, but you have a group of 6 and you charge $50 per person. You're going to get $300 for that reservation of 6, where you could have got how much money? $700 for the group of 14, right?
Right.
There's so few properties on Airbnb that can have large groups that if you do a rent per person, somebody's going to be like, oh, I love this space. It's the best property on Airbnb, and I want to book it. And they'll get a cheap rate because you did the price per person. Where because there's only 4 properties in Houston per se that can even host a group of 14 people in that neighborhood or within 5 miles of it, we take this like highest price approach. So 3 months from now, if a group of 12 or 14 wants to book, they're going to pay a premium. If a group of 6 sees it, they see the same price. And then we start to lower our price as it gets closer to day of arrival, because bigger groups book further in advance, smaller groups and individuals travel last minute. We could actually create 2 listings and link them where we have, and here actually I'm just like coming up with this idea right now because I'm looking at you brought up a mistake of mine. I just made a mistake. Listing it for top dollar has been great for getting a few bookings like 2 months out. We'll have people who will give us $2,000 for 3 nights, right? And that's what you want. We'll get 2 or 3 of those reservations a month where we get top dollar. The rest of those nights in between, we then take this flux approach by lowering the rate, where what we could instead do is have a second identical listing with a different pricing strategy, and we only open up those dates once we've already got a few of our big bookings. We can create that per person opportunity where we have it like a $300 base price instead of a $600 base price, and we charge per person over 6 people. Like with a big property like that, playing both games at the same time is probably the best way to maximize your income.
God, that's a great idea. Is that possible on Airbnb? Have the same property with 2 different listings?
Yeah. I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that one. Oh, but I can tell you something. I cannot tell you why we know this, because we're doing something super secret right now. I'm gonna give it all away. Gross. You can link calendars. So you can have a parent listing, and it says, please tell us which listing is inside of this other listing, right?
Yes,
so
I've
you
seen
can
that
link them. So if somebody books one, it becomes automatically unavailable on the other one. So to link these properly, the one that has the price per person has to be what you would call the original listing. Then you go to link calendar. You open up that one. You go to link calendars. It's going to say which listing is the one that has a listing inside of it, right? You click on this one that is the price per person, and then you say, which listing would you like to link it to? So you take the one that you charge the most money, and that one becomes the child listing, as you call it. So the price per person one is like the original listing, and then you link that one to the one that fetches top dollar. So whenever the one that fetches top dollar gets booked, it automatically blocks off the dates for the per person one, so they can't be reopened up. And you can basically say, you have your calendar blocked by default on the parent listing, and you only open up dates, 4 or 6 weeks out. So you give the top dollar listing the ability to get booked even like a year in advance, and you only open up dates of the parent listing, the cheaper one, for select dates, which is like last minute bookings 6 weeks out or less.
Wow, that's a great strategy, man. That is really amazing. Now, do you have any single family homes, or is everything's an apartment or a condo?
I have a few single families in Philadelphia because there are so many companies like me in Philly that the only way I could create a different product was picking up some single family homes. One of them is unicorn themed. So it's all blue and there's unicorn murals painted on the walls, and the coffee cups, say, I don't believe in humans, and there's a unicorn on it. It's super cute. So we're playing with single family homes and trying a few different things, and we're going to see how they perform. So.
Right. Oh, interesting. Gosh. Wow. Well, I've held you longer than I said I would. I apologize for that, but man, this is just great. Talk about nuggets here, man. I've got a truckload of nuggets here. This is great. We're moving into what we call our wrap it up session now. This is where I ask you a series of quick questions about resources that you use and have used that can be of value to our listening audience. So if you're ready, we can go ahead and wrap it up.
Cool. Fire away.
Okay. Favorite real estate book?
I've not read any real estate book front to back ever in my life, but my accountant gave me one book that's as close to real estate as I'll probably ever read. It's Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright.
Oh, great one. Great.
Yeah, good book.
How about a favorite business book, just general business book?
The Leadership Pipeline was a book that I read while I was homeless that changed the way I looked at my failure. And helped me understand every single layer of building an organization from bottom to CEO level. It's probably, if I had to give you only one, which is darn near impossible, I'll say that the Leadership Pipeline was it.
God, that's great. That's great. That's the first time I've heard that one. So that sounds good. I'm going to jump on it. How about the most valuable website for success? And again, this be other than your own.
Well, if you know how to Google search, I'd give you Google as the answer.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So, right. Harvard Business, Harvard School of Business has a Harvard iLabs YouTube channel. Stanford has a Stanford Graduate School of Business YouTube channel. I love both of those. I would say so. Two other YouTube channels that I just absolutely adore are Stanford's and Harvard's college open source YouTube channels.
Great reference. How about favorite app that you have on your phone?
And the Airbnb app.
I guess that was a dumb question. As I said that, I go, of course,
Okay.
It's the one that's dinging as you're getting all your, money in the door here. Okay. That's a pretty obvious one. Okay. How about favorite quote?
Oh, my goodness. I should have actually looked at this ahead of time. I should have looked at this ahead of
Put you
time.
on the spot here. You can give me a general idea, and we can get the exact wording if you're concerned about that. So,
Joan Didion, she's a writer. This has nothing to do with personal development, I don't think, or business, but the quote is, I've already lost touch with a few people that I used to be.
Wow. That's deep. Wow. That's a good one. We'll find it. And make sure it's accurate, and it will be listed in our show notes. So that's awesome.
Shout out to Joan Didion.
Yeah.
Get it, girl.
You got it. And here, if this is our clencher here, if you lost everything, and kind of we can all sometimes relate to this one here, absolutely everything, but knowing what you know today, and you only have $1,000 in cash, what would you do to restart and rebuild your real estate business?
You know, it's really funny. If you include intangible assets, it's an unfair advantage, right? Money is only a part of building a business. Intangible assets is like knowing a customer list or knowing how something works, the processes. Education products are huge right now, and that's why I really like your podcast, like no sales approach to like real estate.
Right.
I unfortunately can sell my knowledge to people to scrap up more money to fundraise to start my investment property. So it's almost like I have to say, well, if I don't schedule calls with people, make another YouTube channel and show people that I know all about Airbnb and have them pay me for phone calls. I could save up enough money doing that to get a little bit more money, because Airbnb, doing it with just $1,000, it would be a hard venture. But there's ways to get more money. I would first of this. How would I spend this $1,000? I would start in an LLC. It was going to cost $300. So I'd start that LLC. I'd get a business bank account. I would go around to buildings that look like they have low occupancy, that are having a hard time. I'd make my pitch to these buildings and say, hey, I'd like to pick up some leases. I'll commit to 10 leases over the course of the next 3 months or something like that, and try to get them on board. I'd get that deal in hand, and then I'd try to fundraise for other people. Say, hey, I've got this deal done, and see if I could scrap up extra money from other people. Otherwise, I would then go to a furniture place, like I said, get somebody to give me 1 year, no financing, no interest on some furniture, fill it with most everything I need, start one apartment, fill it with most everything that I need, try to get a month free because I advertised that I pick up 10 deals, buy everything that I would need for it, otherwise pots, pans, and a TV for the $700 that I have left, get that one live, and then start to parlay that money, that revenue that I'm making into expanding and getting more apartments. If I could not find a way to access more money and I was stuck with only that $1,000, I could get one Airbnb up. And since I'm doing all the housekeeping myself, I'd be keeping more of that money, so I could get that money back faster. But I would then have to go back to the building and say, hey, we need to slow down the acquisition. I know I said I'd take 10 within 3 months. I'm going to take another one this next month, and I'll come back to you next month on how quickly I can take the final 8. And I would just keep pushing back the start dates on those leases, forcing them to deal with the fact that I promised 10 in 3 months under the contingent that I could find the fundraising. But the building still wants those 10 leases. So now that they have a relationship with you, you can really kind of drag it out. I remember way back in the day, I had to push back leases 3 months on somebody, and they dealt with it. They weren't happy. They would like to get leases filled now, but since you didn't have a specific floor plan picked, they can still try to sell off all their property and not wait on you. So everybody still wins. They're just not getting as many as fast as they'd like. That's how I would do it with $1,000. But getting an LLC is super important because you really need to represent yourself as a business. And if anything goes wrong, of course, your LLC is the one on the hook, not you.
I love it. Great solution there. Do you ever find furnished apartments out there, or have you ever taken on a furnished apartment? Or do they even have furnished apartments anymore?
They do. And
Really?
I find that some people have found some really good furnished apartment deals, which blow my mind. And you have to think, like landlords, smaller landlords, it's possible. Like in Florida, a vacation home where the landlord only wanted it for 3 months out of the year, but then that landlord, maybe they're going through divorce, or they've decided they wanted to stay closer to the rest of their family, so they abandoned their vacation home in South Florida. It's fully furnished, like estate furniture, really nice stuff, and they just want to get it filled, and they don't want to move their furniture out. They'll advertise it as a furnished listing, so it's kind of like best of both worlds for them. They don't have to worry about moving out their furniture to accommodate a tenant, then they can advertise the value add. So you can sometimes get a real sweet deal on a furnished apartment or furnished home because the landlord has a special need that they're trying to fill. Places that make furnished homes their strategy will charge you for that furniture, and they will charge you well for that furniture. So it's typically not a good idea.
Cut into your bottom line.
Yeah, exactly. You're paying for the furniture either way, and I'd rather own the furniture. Fun tax fact: until like 2023, I think, because of the tax restructure, you can deduct like your FF&E, like your cost of furniture and fixtures, first year. You don't have to depreciate it over 3 or 5 years or whatever. So you can rapidly depreciate. So in my business, if I have $500,000 and I put it in Airbnb, and then above and beyond my costs, I make $1 million, and I put that $1 million back into Airbnb right away, I can deduct all of it 100%, because if I bought $1.5 million in furniture, fixtures, and paid for labor and rents out of that $1.5 million, at the end of the year, I just snowballed all that stuff, and I pay $0 in taxes because I can deduct it all. Where before, like you couldn't. You'd have to 3-year or 5-year your furniture, and you don't have to for a while. So,
God, that's great. Wow. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of folks listening here that want to find out more about you and what you do, and get access to some of this great information that you've been sharing with us, and more. What's sort of the best way for folks to find out about you?
Well, I'm pretty much active on my YouTube channel, and that's mostly it. I don't do a lot of other stuff because I'm super busy. So you can find me at Airbnb Automated on YouTube. There are ways to get a hold of me through social media and stuff like that. We do have a host group on Facebook, like a private group for people who are already hosts. So there's some extra small resources out there. But start on YouTube. It's where I put pretty much all my love is into that YouTube channel.
And how many videos have you done on YouTube to date?
Well, my computer died while we were talking, so I can't give you an exact count. But it's going to be pushing 150 to 200 videos. It's in that ballpark.
Wow.
It's got to be.
Wow. And a lot of times, you'll be like in different places too. So you walk around with a
Yes.
video crew or something. And I mean, what do you do?
No, I don't actually. So the curse of being a do-it-yourselfer, right? I started with a GoPro camera, and my first viral video I shot in Austin at a place called Joe's Coffee, talking about how I make fortune on Airbnb. And I shot that with a GoPro. And then I eventually started to get into regular cameras, and I bought one on eBay. And now I carry a backpack around pretty much at all times, so I can shoot video whenever I want. A lot of times I'll just go into one of my Airbnbs, set it up, shoot the videos. But I also like trying to set up in cool spots, with a cool view. Like one of my favorites, I was in Turkey, I was in Istanbul or something. And I was able to sit down in a park and shoot a video, and I thought that was cool. So when you're on the go, you just kind of make it part of your lifestyle.
That
right?
is wild. So you got the camera on a stand, and you've got a little remote or something that you're.
Yeah, there's an app on your phone. There's an app for that.
way.
You connect your phone to the camera, and it'll help you. You can focus. When I first started, my videos were always out of focus. I had no clue what I was doing. The audio was, of course, novice, and it takes time.
Yeah.
It's like any art form. But yeah, so it's all me. I do have a videographer / editor that's doing mostly editing work right now because we're working on selling a course, only because people are constantly asking for one. We made a free course just because there's somebody who's constantly trying to sell one to our audience. So we made a free one on YouTube. So you don't have to buy a course to do Airbnb, and I've always been adamant about that. There's no need to buy a product to learn how to Airbnb. I didn't buy anything to learn. Why should anybody else have to? So, but my editor is working on like an actual like paid course. It's a monster. So it's taking up all of his time. So he's not following me around city to city to shoot video.
Right. What a kick. Would you call yourself a digital nomad?
No, not yet. It's so funny. Like I feel like I'm going to skip that. Right. So the reason why is like I'm like a hands-on workaholic business owner, serial entrepreneur type, right? And then once the business is built and it's automated, I'll move on and work on another project. So a digital nomad is somebody who makes enough income to work from their computer. But the problem is when my businesses make enough income to automate, like I'm not a digital nomad because my money's not coming from the internet. My real estate portfolio allows me to travel, and I could be digital while being nomadic, but it's not the source of my income. I think a digital nomad is pretty much pinned down as like a work from your computer anywhere in the world type.
Oh yeah. I mean, some of the folks I've interviewed, they don't even have a home. I mean, they literally stay in Airbnbs everywhere they go, and they're always on the road. I mean, just crazy. Yeah. Because you seem like you travel a lot. So I was just asking the question because it seems like that's a big part of what you do.
Yeah, I do travel a ton, and I love it. I could like not have a home too. I mean, I did at one point not have one, and it's totally fine. It's totally cool. You just got to get used to it. It's a little nerve-wracking, I think, but there's just some people who'd rather have wings than roots.
Right, I like that. YouTube, it's just you just look up Airbnb automated, and they'll find all your YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, correct. Or if they punch my name in with the weird spelling last name. It'll on Google. It pretty much Airbnb automated pops up like it's the only thing people care about knowing me for. So it pops up on Google if you just type my name in.
Gotcha. Well, Sean, this has been a blast. I tell you right now, this is going to end up being a 2-episode, a part 1, part 2, because we did run a little bit longer here. But so it'll give people an opportunity to really get a lot of great information. And man, I can't thank you enough for being on. It's been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. It was really cool to be like to kind of just kind of flow with you and vibe with you. So it's fun. I had no clue like exactly what we were going to talk about, but it was really cool to see what came from this little podcast jam session.
I love it. Well, we have a tradition here. We are called the Old Dogs REI Network here. And so our guests get the great honor of being able to close us out with your best old hound dog howl. And I know you were...
Well, you did say hound dog, so it is a hound dog.
Well, I say hound dog, because a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about, So it could be any kind of dog. Some people have even done wolves, I mean, you could do any, sort of canine related type species here. All right.
That sound real?
That sounded very real. I'm blown away. Yes. Very good. You must be are you a dog owner? No.
I did own a dog a long time ago, but I just, dogs are cool. I'm a dog person. So
thank you again, Sean, for joining us. It's just been a blast, a total blast.
And my pleasure. Thank you, Bill.
I want to thank all our Old Dog listeners out there for joining us. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing right now, but the fact that you've taken the time to join us really means a lot, and we appreciate it. Now, please note everything that Sean talked about today, and there's a ton of great information. It will be detailed in our show notes. There'll be links there to the various references that he made and so forth. So you don't want to miss that. And that's at our website at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog. And you're going to look for the episode with Sean and all about Airbnb automated. Well, that's the show for today. Remember, cash flow is king and real estate investing the means. Until next time, keep moving forward. And may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.